A lot to cover today, including why Vivek left DOGE 69 days after DOGE was created. We'll talk about why California is burning again, and specifically why I am pissed off about this one. It hits home. We'll talk about the Wall Street Journal being very, very pissed at Donald Trump for something in particular. We'll talk about that, and Donald Trump deploying troops and threatening Russia. Big DEI orders creating a witch hunt. Tax updates, SALT tax deductions, office sales by the government, OpenAI drama, macro drama, micro drama, Netflix, P&G, more micro, Kamala Harris drama, and a whole lot more to cover on today's Meet Kevin Report. News that makes you money. Stick around towards the end as well. I'll go through a daily wealth update, a dad joke, and a schedule of what to expect on the channel going forward now that The Office is finally about 95% complete. And apologies, still a little bit under the weather, and Lauren's out with the flu, and all 5 of the babies are sick. It's a lot. But we're going to get through it together. But first, we need to talk about a huge fire in California. And when I talk about a huge fire in California, this one really pisses me off. It is the Hughes Fire, which is north of Castaic. And this is actually Six Flags Magic Mountain right here. I've posted a lot of pictures and videos of myself with Jack riding these roller coasters on Instagram. Follow me there if you haven't yet, at RealMeetKevin. Actually, at MeetKevin on Instagram and at RealMeetKevin on Twitter. But anyway, this is pretty close. It's dropping ash onto our home. And one of the reasons that I'm really frustrated about this is first of all, I really don't want to see more people's homes burned down and people's livelihoods get ruined, because it just pisses everybody off, especially since a lot of this, in my opinion, could be managed substantially better by our California government, but we've already complained enough about that. Let's be a little specific about my complaint, though. This was my flight path over the Lake Hughes waypoint, the VOR, Lake Hughes, 2 days ago. 2 days ago at about 7:30 at night, I was on an IFR flight plan flying the Victor 165 going home. Actually, we're going to LAX for a pit stop, and then we're going home. And air traffic control asked, hey, 816 Lima Papa, do you see any fire or smoke to your 9 to 11 o'clock on your flight path? We have reports about a potential fire 4 miles east of Lake Hughes. Well, we looked for about 20, 30 minutes, and we said, unfortunately, we didn't see anything. And so if we saw something, we would have been more than willing to break off of our IFR flight plan, go VFR, go visual, right? Go from instruments and a dedicated flight plan to visual and try to help them out. But we didn't see anything. So we're like, all right, kind of thinking to ourselves, like, if there's really a fire here, this is a bummer because we don't see it. We really hope that we really hope that ultimately California is deploying the resources they need to make sure they're taking care of this fire, to make sure it doesn't get worse if there is indeed a fire. Well, apparently they didn't. And look what happened. Now here's the Hughes Fire. It's now actually over 5,000 acres inside, blown up by 30 to 40 knot gusts 4 miles east of the lake, just as we were asked about. Again, we didn't see it then, but it makes me wonder if one of two things happened. Either there was a small fire people just didn't pay attention to and the fire department ignored it because they're too short on resources, or the fire department responded, put the fire out, and then, as usual, left it without monitoring it. Now, why is that a big problem? Probably exactly how the Palisades fire expanded. Remember when you create a fire that's smoldering, like a campfire that's gone out, you know how you can kind of like blow on it and sort of bring it back to life? Well, the same thing can happen with forest fires or brush fires. This is why it's really important to monitor fires that have been put out. There's speculation right now and potential evidence to this fact using satellite imagery that the Palisades fire started at the same point a burn scar was from a fire that happened about 5 days prior due to somebody setting off fireworks and causing a fire. That fire was put out, but the burn scar was not monitored. In fact, a fire truck was not even within a 30-minute radius of that burn scar on the morning of the Palisades fire, which is why it took over 30 minutes for the fire department to respond. In my opinion, that is negligence. That is a failure of the California government. It is a failure of Governor Newsom. It is a failure of local officials to monitor previous burn scars or previous burns when you have prescribed high winds coming. I don't understand. Here we are again with another explosive fire. It seems like basic climate science to me, but for some reason, our government just can't get their act together, despite us spending over 55% of our money in California on freaking taxes. It's crazy. Well, Donald Trump does suggest in some rumors that maybe he's still looking into potentially getting rid of the federal income tax. When I ran for governor in California, I was talking about getting rid of the state income tax because, well, that's what you could do as governor. But anyway, we've got to actually talk about, on the note of governor, Vivek and why potentially he left the Department of Governmental Efficiency. So the White House argues it's because, he's thinking about running for office, which people think is going to be governor. And what I did is, and I posted this on X, you could follow me there at Real Meat Kevin on X. And then remember, I'm Meat Kevin on Instagram, where I post those videos with Jack and I on the roller coasters over there at Six Flags Magic Mountain. You can see all this kind of stuff. I try to post as much as I can. But anyway, what I did is I posted on X that I looked up the who is information for Vivek for governor.com. And what I found is that it was registered on the 15th of January this year. Now, it could have been filed by a squatter, so maybe it's not his staff, but I actually think it would make sense that it is his staff and that his staff is, prepping his campaign for governor. After all, again, it was registered on the 15th, so it kind of makes sense. Now, some people argue that it shouldn't be Vivek for governor. He should use his last name like Ramaswamy. I'm kind of like, nah, definitely stick with the Vivek. I mean, if I ran for governor, I wouldn't be using Paffrath for governor. Nobody's going to be able to spell that one. So I don't blame that at all. But other people are saying, what he should be using is biotechfraudforgovernor.com. Okay, that's in part because of a YouTube video that I posted probably now like over a year ago, where when Vivek was running for president, I made a video going, hey, here's a little bit of a breakdown on how Vivek made his money, and you make up your own opinion. You can kind of look it up if you want. It's on YouTube, Meet Kevin. Type in Meet Kevin Vivek fraud. It'll come up. But anyway, why is he no longer in DOGE? Well, the rumor mill on Capitol Hill suggests it's because of Vivek's defense of the H-1B visa, which may have accelerated the end of Vivek because of his criticisms of American culture and that our country venerated mediocrity over excellence. Basically, the argument is that people got sick of him, essentially. Okay, interesting. So how does that work out? Well, in part, some people argue that as a summary of this, because the H-1B visa drama goes deep. But there are basically three sides here. So one side argues we should not have H-1B visas because they are generally not used by small and medium-sized businesses in America. They're usually used by big businesses that have the money and legal staff to actually get through the H-1B lottery process, get people recruited, then applying for these positions, and then getting through these positions, and then getting hired. And that corporations, especially mega corporations, are using the H-1B visa process to purposefully not hire entry-level American software programmers, but rather entry-level foreigners. And that way, they could lower the salaries they're paying them by potentially 30 to 50%. And now all of a sudden, you're getting workers at a cheaper price because their dollar, if they take it back to their home country, goes a lot further there than it does here in America. This is where one group of people makes it very clear. The H-1B visa program is basically theft of the Americans' opportunity to make a good living, and it creates more supply for workers and creates lower pay across the board, and that ultimately hurts Americans. That's one argument. Now, the other argument is sort of the Elon Musk argument, which is, hey, well, if there's somebody with extraordinary talent, we should be able to hire them no matter where they're from and help them have a place and a home in America and good pay in America. Well, people like Patrick Bet-David echo this. They're like, yeah, if you are willing to work 80 hours a week, we can't find anyone like that in America. We'll use the H-1B process, which Valuetainment does. Okay, then you have people like Vivek who jump in on this bandwagon as well, that yes, we should be able to hire people outside of the H-1B process. But Vivek went a little bit far, calling Americans mediocre. And it's kind of like, I feel like you've got like two people at a party or like groups of people at a party, two groups of people. And one party's like, H-1Bs suck. And the other party's like, nah, man, H-1Bs are awesome. And then Vivek jumps in, yeah, H-1Bs are awesome. Americans suck. And then Elon looks up, bro, too far. That's a little bit kind of what I'm gathering here. And now remember, Elon's also been caught up in the controversy about potentially censoring accounts who disagreed with him on his H-1B stance, removing people's checkmarks like Laura Loomer's for posting about somebody's public donation records and therefore violating, terms of services of X or whatever, which seems like an excuse for basically trying to take away the monetization of somebody who disagreed with Elon Musk. Now, we know that Elon Musk has blocked people before. In fact, when I have criticized him in the past, I have been blocked by Elon Musk, and I have been unblocked by Elon Musk. Now, I kind of think it's an honor to be blocked and unblocked by Elon Musk, but I will tell you, I will criticize Elon Musk, but I will also come to his defense. For example, do I think that he really did a Heil Hitler? No, I don't. And I think that people who are freaking out, oh my gosh, he's a Nazi or whatever, like AOC, have lost their freaking mind. And as a German, I'm going to put on my fake German hat, and I'm going to go, listen, we need to be real. Okay, that's a terrible German accent. Let me try that again. Ich will be real. If you wanted to do a real Heil Hitler, you must do much better work than that. First of all, you need... Okay, this is terrible, and it's going just totally in the wrong direction. But the point is, I really don't think somebody reaching, across their body and then doing this salute is a proper Heil Hitler. What I did is I went through some historical archives and sort of the older kind of versions of the Heil Hitler from World War II. And typically what you see, and I'm not going to emulate it here because people are going to clip it, if you have a longer arm out, you hold it, and then you might march around with that arm extended. You typically hold it above your eyebrows, the point of the height above the eyebrows, and holding it there is sort of a way of symbolizing the respect to that higher authority, right? This is all like bad World War II stuff. It's super anti-Semitic and all that, obviously. And it's sensitive to talk about it, especially somebody who was born in Germany. But the point is, this what Elon did, this sort of rapid come from the heart, and then he even said from the heart reach across in this sort of explosive kind of motion. To me, I kind of think it's more of a tism and him being socially awkward and not realizing that what he's doing looked bad or that it would look bad, right? That forethought was missing. He's genuinely got sort of that enthusiasm of a socially awkward child who's just solved the math problem or something like that. So, sorry, again, I'll criticize Elon, but I'll come to defense on him on that because if das was a Heil Hitler, das was a very pathetic Heil Hitler, and Elon is not known for, okay, my accent's going screwy here. Elon's not known for doing pathetic things, although he's said some stupid things before, but everybody makes mistakes, right? So anyway, that's my take on a little bit more on that Elon drama. As far as Vivek running for governor, it is kind of a bad look, in my opinion, that he's out of something he created before it could even begin. Because now I feel like he kind of is going to set up this as oh yeah, I helped create DOGE. So he could take credit for its successes, but he could distance himself from DOGE failures. I don't actually think that's good. And I wonder if Vivek just rubs people the wrong way, or is this Elon trying to take too much control and power? I don't know. I guess we'll see as we get some more information. So far, it sounded like, at least the story we're getting, said it all had to do with the H-1B drama, which I could see that happening because we saw how sensitive Elon got around that. Anyway, Donald Trump's first 3 days have been off to a crazy start. There's now talk about potentially the government selling 2/3 of all of its office space because they're just going to let people go and offices aren't being used anyway, so they'll consolidate departments and sell off a bunch of office space. That could tank some office real estate values. Don't worry, House Hack's not exposed to any office real estate. Got some cool House Hack updates coming soon, though. But anyway, there are also discussions beginning on bills to expand the SALT tax deduction. The current estimate is that part of the big tax plan, the SALT tax deduction, will be doubled. There are also rumors about potentially Donald Trump wanting to get rid of the federal income tax. Again, I don't really know if that's going to happen, so we'll see. Donald Trump on DEI is creating some form of, dare I say, a little bit of a witch hunt. Some DEI workers were supposedly getting laid off today around 4 o'clock. These were some rumors. There were certainly a lot of executive orders as part of the 78 executive orders that Donald Trump sort of removed from the Biden administration. Many of these actually had to do with the Biden administration's policies around equity and inclusion for potentially Hispanic individuals, Black individuals, you name it, anyone, protected white individuals like gay, lesbian, or otherwise. And so when you go through the actions and the executive orders that Donald Trump overturned, and you look at the list, you actually see the list is really, really thorough around things like, again, equity for Native Americans, equity for Black Americans, equity for Hispanic Americans, and it's all over. But beyond that, what they did is they have made it so that DEI is now getting removed from basically any facility of the federal government, including, for example, the Federal Aviation Administration. Now, as a pilot now, a new pilot, I actually thought this was pretty clear. Let's use this one. There we go. The FAA has betrayed its mission by elevating dangerous discrimination over excellence. For example, prior to my inauguration, the FAA Diversity and Inclusion website revealed that the prior administration sought to specifically recruit or hire individuals with serious infirmities that could impact the execution of their essential life-saving duties. Illegal and discriminatory diversity, equity, and inclusion hiring, including on the basis of sex, race, disability, or any other criteria other than the safety of airline passengers and overall job excellence, competency, and qualification, harms all Americans who deserve to fly with confidence. It also penalizes hardworking Americans who want to serve in the FAA but are unable to do so because they lack a requisite disability or skin color. And this is where the witch hunt comes in. You literally have people in positions and their website bios, apparently, per @gunowners here on X, having a title Chief Diversity Officer, and that has now been changed to Senior Executive. So hence the witch hunt begins, and X is really good at flushing stuff like that out. Anyway, a lot of people think that Donald Trump's extension of the ban on TikTok is totally illegal and he's going to get sued to oblivion for that. But he's ordered the Justice Department, per the executive order that I read, not to enforce or punish TikTok until at least 75 days as he tries to put a deal together. It is believed that Elon Musk might be involved as a potential buyer for TikTok, possibly in coordination with the U.S. government. So the U.S. government could be a part owner in TikTok, which would kind of be weird. Social media platform actually literally owned in part by the government. I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, on immigration, Donald Trump is expecting to not only investigate and prosecute law enforcement officials who refuse to enforce new immigration policies, and this is coming up because certain police chiefs in certain areas have argued that they're not going to participate in helping Donald Trump with his new immigration orders. But we're now seeing the potential for troops to start moving to the border, more troops to start moving to the border very rapidly. Excuse me. Donald Trump wanted as many as 10,000 more active duty troops to be moved to the U.S.-Mexico border, in addition to about the 2,500 active duty troops that are already there and about 4,500 National Guard already there. But some thought that would be too much of a mobilization, so they're only sending 1,500 now. Customs is also no longer requiring COVID vaccines. They've killed the CBP-1 app for applying to actually join and get asylum and potentially come into the United States. And Reuters is reporting that the U.S. will also be sending intelligence analysts and helicopters to the border to aid in this process of securing the border. Okay. FEMA has, per Donald Trump, now appointed, or I should say selected, an administrator of FEMA who was not promoted from within FEMA, but rather as a Navy SEAL, a former Navy SEAL that was chosen by Trump. Some people say this is abnormal to promote sort of from outside of FEMA. Other people say, no, this is great because the agency needs new management. We'll see. The White House website has also been rebuilt to only include an English version, and old executive actions as well as the Spanish version of the website have been removed. OpenAI and Stargate. Oh boy. Okay. Ready for some real finance drama? Let's hit it right after a word from our sponsor. And boy, we have a lot to talk about with finance drama and some earnings, as well as some big surprises. Bullish Let's talk. Welcome back. So, hey, y'all know I love asymmetric trades where the payoff could be larger than what you're trading. Well, Crypto.com is now offering a sports trading opportunity where you can trade $26. If you lose, your payout is $0. If you win, your payout is $100. Sounds like an asymmetric bet so far, right? After all you have to do is bet yes or no. And that's because Crypto.com is running a promotion for their sports trading opportunities. So if you take a look at their website here, zoom out a little bit, you could trade your predictions. So if you believe a certain team is going to win or lose, whether it's in college football or pro football, bowl games, you name it, in all 50 states, you can make that trade. It'll cost you $26 per contract. There are fees that are sometimes up to $1.99 per one of these contracts. But if you're correct, the payout is $100. Sounds like an asymmetric trade to me. And if you want to learn more, use my link in the description down below because you'll get a bonus at $10 towards your first trade. Well, technically after your first trade, but you know me, we always like to net these things out. So you can get started in a few simple steps. Click the link down below, create an account at crypto.com, trade contracts, and get your payment, usually within 1 business day after you win, should you win. Now, keep in mind, this is a form of commodities trading. This means that, yes, trading involves a risk and may not be appropriate for everybody. And you should consider whether this is appropriate or suitable for you. And remember that Crypto.com is sponsoring this video. Just think the promotion is actually pretty good. Again, I'm looking at it like, maybe this is going to be what finally gets Kevin into sports, taking what I love, trading, and bringing sports to it. Let's go. Again, check it out. Use my link down below for that extra $10. Keep in mind, they've also got a big Bitcoin contest going. It's a $100,000 contest where basically the top 10 sports traders will win $10,000 in Bitcoin each between now and 2 a.m. on Super Bowl Sunday. So this is a contest you're automatically entered into once you activate your USD Cash account, enable derivatives, trading contracts, right? And trade at least one sports contract before 2 a.m. on Super Bowl Sunday. Check it out via my link down below. SoftBank, Microsoft, and others via Trump are promising $500 billion of spending on artificial intelligence. Elon Musk argues that these companies only have secured about $10 billion, and it's kind of a facade to argue they have $500 billion. The CEO of Microsoft counters and says he's good for $80 billion already, so Elon's wrong. And when you break this apart, you start getting a little bit more insight. Oracle has about $10.9 billion in cash and $20 billion in current liabilities outside of their deferred revenues, another $105 billion in other liabilities. So Oracle's kind of in this place where like they don't actually have that much cash. And when you break down what's actually going on, you get a little bit more color. These companies actually want to deploy $500 billion over the next 5 years, 4 to 5 years. So really they're talking about an initial 100 billion. Okay, so that's already 1/5 of this 500 billion we're talking about. And then the rest over time. Now, Oracle is really excited because even though they don't necessarily have that much money, they make a lot of money from servers and they want to compete with Amazon. Specifically want to compete with Amazon. Bloomberg Intelligence thinks that Oracle could potentially 3 to 4x their sales by being involved in this partnership with OpenAI and even ARM. See, ARM is involved in this because ARM, per the CEO of ARM, is going to be the exclusive GPU provider. This is in contrast to potentially using AMD as a CPU provider. I want to make sure I said that right. That was CPU provider, because all of them expect to use NVIDIA and the Grace Blackwell chipset. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of drama around the Blackwell chipset potentially overheating and companies wanting to install them in their server racks themselves and trying to buy them individually rather than with big packages because they're having too many glitches and problems or whatever. None of this has stopped the potential for SoftBank, who has about $46 billion on hand, plus about maybe $150 billion of other, investments, actually maybe even more, or Microsoft with the cash that they have available from arguing that they want to make these big investments. It has, though, left Elon frustrated, saying no, they don't actually have this money, and the CEO of Anthropic, who's partnered with Amazon, Amazon's not part of this deal, has also called this, quote, a bit chaotic and questions the financing. Now, Elon really doesn't like OpenAI because he exited in 2018 due to disagreements, and what was supposed to be a nonprofit has basically now become a for-profit, blah, 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 blah. This goes on forever, that drama. But Elon Musk is now retweeting on X. Here are leaked images of the research tool OpenAI used to come up with their $500 billion number for Stargate. That's what they're naming the project as, Stargate, the $500 billion over 4 to 5 years. And then Elon also replied over here, SoftBank has well under $10 billion secured. I have good authority on that. I have good authority. Sam Altman responds, of OpenAI responds and says, wrong, as you surely know. Want to come visit the first site already underway? This is great for the country. I realize what is great for the country isn't always what's optimal for your country or companies, but in your new role, I hope you'll mostly put America first. Excuse me. Now that comes across as a pretty big, jab at Elon Musk here. But in fairness, Sam Altman does actually try to take the high road. See here, Elon Musk says they don't actually have the money. He's kind of like doubling down on this. Sam Altman goes, I generally respect your accomplishments, and I think you're the most inspiring entrepreneur of our time. So you've got it seems like he's trying to take the high road here, but there's definitely a lot of drama going on regarding this. Whether they have the money or not, I don't think really so much matters. I think the argument is they're planning to make this commitment to raise over time, use cash that they have, and deploy more money and more resources into artificial intelligence. And that, in part, is why NVIDIA was up as much as it was today. NVIDIA did really well today on the news of this deal. You could see that right here. NVIDIA was up 4.4% on the day. If you look, we're knocking on the door of all-time highs for NVIDIA, though it's been sort of bobbing up and down over here. AMD has had about 3 or 4 days of green, including today up about 1.2%. But the longer-term trend line here with another rejection coming up at about 126 hasn't been so ideal for AMD, whereas for NVIDIA, the trend line has basically just been straight up. If you draw, from $39 over here, straight up line. Pretty dang remarkable. Tesla today, by the way, retesting that 414 line. Pay attention to that one. Even look right here at that close, right there around 414. So watch that one pretty closely. 414.50 is a very, very important line for them. Okay, so with that, let's get into... look, there are many other topics to cover here, but just to sort of wrap up on that thought of Stargate. A lot of people are excited about this, more money for AI. A lot of other people say, is AI really needing that much more power? Or is it just going to plunge the cost of artificial intelligence and chatbots? Other people say, hey, good, then we can actually deploy agents, which people say is the next phase of AI. I don't know if it actually is, but we'll see. It's supposed to be predictive and sort of predict the problems that you need help with rather than just responding to your queries. Brett over at ARK Invest is pretty enthusiastic as well on Stargate. We will want more than the $100 billion per year promised. And I think he's pretty intelligent. Big fan of Brett and the team over at ARK Invest. Then on some macro catalysts, worth remembering that the next Fed meeting is January 28th to 29th, which means we'll have our presser on the 29th. The 28th is my birthday. The odds of a rate cut are basically zero. There is a 25% chance of a rate cut in March, though. We are also 31 basis points uninverted at this point. Bill Dudley, the former Fed president, one of the former Fed presidents, in a Bloomberg interview, does expect more volatility and slower growth with higher inflation under Trump. So he's sort of like, hey, just be careful. Who knows? Take that for what it's worth. He's now in the private sector. There are some layoffs at CNN, potentially as many as hundreds of layoffs at CNN per CNBC after the inauguration. And Amazon is closing a Quebec plant, likely due to union disputes, though. So not necessarily because of the economy. P&G indicates that they've basically been unable to hike prices anymore, but they're starting to see consumers trade up. This is actually, in my opinion, very, very bullish to see. So, one of their analysts asked, hey, it looks like over the last few years, your pricing's only up about 3%. Like, what gives? Like, do you guys not have any more pricing power? And they later defend this by saying, we are working on, more innovation. We're working on, and we're starting to see people trading up again. Really good sign for the consumer wanting to trade up, by the way. That means they're willing to spend more, which is very, very bullish. But also, when they talk about pricing here, they're like, yeah, we're not really able to push pricing right now, which is a sign of, again, inflation not being a longer issue. I really don't believe that inflation is going to be a big issue. I'm much more worried about the jobs market, you know that at this point. But I've always believed that the basis of the Nike swoosh recovery was that over time, people will become more and more comfortable with the fact that prices just aren't going up or aren't able to go up much more than they already have. Now, yes, prices are higher, but just not going up even higher. And this is specifically true of these consumer goods companies. You've also got Netflix, which had banger earnings, which is another really good sign for the economy, global economy, frankly. Their streaming memberships coming in at 301.63 million versus 290.9 was phenomenal, with operating margin beating as well. Subchange beat. EPS did miss, though, but really the stock was up like 11% today because people are signing up for their ad-based tier. And this was really shocking to me because take a look at this. They go as far as telling us that view hours on ad plans are similar to the non-ad plans, which is crazy because you would think that people would watch less on the ad plans and potentially more on the non-ad plans, right? Nope, no difference, which is actually really bullish for Netflix and the ad plans. They also say we've doubled our ad revenue year over year last year, and we expect to double it again this year. This is really impressive. They also, though, say that they have more flexibility when they use their own ad servers, which, in my opinion, is actually not great for a company like Trade Desk. It's kind of a little bit of a warning that they could in-house all of their, basically CTV ads and find their own ad buyers and then sell those ad slots themselves and basically streamline the process while cutting out everyone else. I thought that was very interesting. Anyway, so then you've got EA, which, they didn't have the best of earnings, but they argued that they plan to return to growth by fiscal year 2026. That did, unfortunately for them, leave their stock down a little bit in earnings afterwards. They're down about 11% in after hours. Not great, though the NASDAQ's almost back to all-time highs. So good for the NASDAQ. I'm also curious to see how the Russell 2000 moves over the next few weeks. We're still not at our highs that we had in November, where we hit about 242, sitting at about 228 right now on IWM, the proxy for the Russell 2000, or one of the indexes for the Russell 2000. Discover also in their Q4 earnings, slight beat on both credit losses and EPS, which is kind of a good sign that, again, the economy just isn't having that many massive issues. Kind of bullish. Let's see how the next few months here go on jobs, but we actually might stick this no landing as long as job numbers come in strong and, too many people aren't laid off, which so far it doesn't seem like there are any kind of like super scary, massive layoffs. Anyway, the New York Times did run a story that had me a little scratching my head today. They ran a story suggesting that designating the cartels in Mexico as terrorists could end up hurting our economy. Now, they end up saying that cartels are so embedded in the Mexican tourism industry and even the fruit industry, like avocados from Mexico, that cartels basically use the legal economy, like tourism or avocado picking and sorting, to launder money from their illegal activities. So that way they can, bank it and wash it by paying taxes on it and then bank it. They also argue that even banana producers, like the famous one, Chiquita Brands, was found liable in 2024 for killings by a Colombian paramilitary group that was designated as a terrorist organization. Now, that brand says they were extorted. Other people say, no, that brand actually hired the cartel to run people out of land so they could take the land for themselves and buy the land cheaper because everybody left and then grow bananas on it. I didn't know there was so much blood in the banana trade, but all of this sounds kind of crazy, and it's sort of interesting to think about all of the sort of ripple effects that come along with cartels and crime. But I'm kind of a big fan of being, tough on crime. So, hey, I guess one foot in front of the other there. We'll see what happens. Regarding Trump and Russia, Donald Trump is threatening tariffs on Russia if the war isn't ended immediately. The Wall Street Journal thinks that while Putin has said that he would welcome a conversation with Trump, he's so far shown little interest in Donald Trump's proposed peace plans, which obviously have a lot of people arguing that, hey, Donald Trump, you told us the war would be over within 24 hours of you getting elected. Nothing's changed. What's going on? Now, people say, hey, he was being hyperbolic, give him a chance. Other people are like, hey, let's just hope this war ends. I mean, so far we've got progress in Israel, though now Israel's moving from the Gaza Strip into potentially other regions around Israel, and so there are some frustrations that Israel's sort of widening land grab is spreading into the Golan Heights and other areas, which people are saying, hey, this is supporting Israeli imperialism. Other people say, no, they're just creating a safety buffer. So something to watch there. It is good, though, that obviously we have a peace deal between Hamas and Israel, and hostages are being released. So my heart goes out to those hostages and families involved and the people who've been suffering. And hopefully the pain and suffering can just end. Hamas even released some, Hamas also released some hostages that, it was the Houthis. The Houthis released some container ship hostages that they took 14 months ago. So it seems like progress is being made in the Middle East, maybe less so in Russia, though. So we'll have to pay attention to this. Also, regarding drill baby drill, the Wall Street Journal thinks that frackers and oil and gas producers might actually focus more on returning cash to investors rather than drilling baby drill, because they don't necessarily want to spend more money right now on expanding on expansive projects, because maybe oil just isn't expensive enough for them to support more infrastructure. So there are debates all over on this. I mean, Brent's at $78 right now. A lot of people say Brent really has to be over $100 to support new infrastructure projects. We'll see. We also know that Donald Trump did remove some of the implementation of the National Environmental Policy Act, which was a 1970 law that required federal reviews of the environmental impacts of energy projects. This is really sort of like the California CEQA, and it's a way of trying to minimize the friction of applying for larger permits and larger infrastructure projects. Unclear, though, if this is really going to push big change yet. So we'll see. It's not like we're opening a valve and a bunch of oil is flowing out of it yet, at least in terms of post-Trump. There's some Kamala Harris drama now. The Daily Mail is reporting that Harris's husband, Doug, may have been considered a liability to Kamala, given allegations that he got his child's nanny pregnant, but he was trying to be super, pro-woman when he cheated on his first wife, yet he's pro-woman with Kamala Harris, and then, this history comes out over him. So a lot of people are like, wait, what's going on? Here are just some pictures, by the way. This is Doug on the right. That's Kirsten on the left. There's Doug's daughter in the middle, Ella. She's super pro the LGBTQ movement, specifically the transgender movement, is really what a lot of people say has flagged her in a lot of attention. I think that, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I know that a lot of people are like, hey, you want to be, gay or lesbian or whatever. That's fine. You do you. That's totally fine. But, people changing their gender as, becoming trans as a child, okay, yeah, that's where the line gets drawn, right? You hear this a lot, and we know that she's super pro transgenderism, and so there's been a lot of frustration around this as well. But anyway, here's a picture of the nanny today. We don't know, what she looked like back then, but this is the nanny that didn't want to comment either on this story, but that was when it broke back in August of 24. Now, apparently, there's talk that Kamala Harris is frustrated with him and sees him as a dead weight liability. Whew, some marital drama there. Sounds like everybody's pissed. Sounds like Biden's pissed that he got the boot, And then it sounds like Kamala's pissed at everybody else. It's just everybody's pissed in the Democratic Party. And then AOC is just always pissed. Anyway, the Wall Street Journal is pissed. Well, the editorial board, at least. They argue that why did Donald Trump denounce Biden's preemptive pardons for his family members when Donald Trump just pardoned people who were convicted of shocking, hitting, and spraying with pepper spray officers? The Wall Street Journal editorial board says that Donald Trump would go through case by case. They quote him. They say he would go through case by case, and if people were nonviolent, that they could be pardoned. The same thing is what J.D. Vance says. Obviously, if you committed violence on that day, you shouldn't be pardoned. Well, these people were pardoned. Daniel DJ Rodriguez, sentenced to 151 months for using basically a taser against cops. William Lewis was given 37 months for spraying wasp and hornet killer at cops. Someone here was given 30 months for pepper spraying cops. This person was given 40 months for pepper spraying cops. Curtis Davis was using brass knuckles, apparently. I'm sorry, he was using his fists, actually. It was this guy, Roland Maccabee. He was using brass knuckles to hit folks. See, other rioters assailed the officer for over 20 seconds, causing a concussion. Held an officer on the ground. Anyway, so there's some frustration around this, especially them knuckles right there from one of those MFers' faces at the Capitol. Yikes. Not great. And these are just some sort of various quotes and names here. Anyway, so that's created some frustration. Now I want to talk a little bit about the dad joke of the day and then also a little bit of daily wealth. Look, I don't know about you, but my 2025 has been off to a very, very bizarre start and very annoying. It's supposed to be the year of like productivity and efficiency. And while I rebuilt my office, and it's not done yet, but it's like 90% of the way there, and it's already so much more efficient, and I love what I've got. We've upgraded it to 4K. There are a lot of things that have been a little poopy. I got sick at the beginning of the year. Now Lauren has the flu. She's throwing up. All 5 of the babies are sick. I still don't feel like I've perfectly recovered. In fact, today I kind of feel like I took another setback. This morning was pretty terrible. As a result, I've kind of been missing things like the Daily Wealth or the Meet Kevin report or the Alpha report. Gosh, I've missed like 2 days now, which is bad. So I need to fix this. And I just want you to know I'm working on it, working on bringing it back. But as part of the Daily Wealth, I want to say this chaos that happens is often worth it as long as you use it for motivation to make your life better. So weaponize the sort of chaos that you bring upon yourself sometimes with remodeling something or reorganizing something or, fixing problems that you have. Set a new milestone and get the efficiency going again. So for me, my next milestone is January 28th. It was supposed to be January 1. Sorry, life got in the way. Although I did make a lot of progress with aligning HouseHack with a pretty awesome partner. We can't wait to announce a new service or product, which is going to be really cool, along with potentially a Regulation A fundraise. I've nearly completed my instrument training for flying. I've got my check ride scheduled for February. We've got the Meet Kevin reports coming back, these videos, and we're working on better alignment and schedules of on the channel, which we'll talk about. But my milestone will be January 28th. That's when I turn 33, and I think it's okay. Excuse me. I think it's okay to just set a new date and try, keep trying. Just don't give up. And there have been times where I've been so frustrated because I've put so much chaos on myself that it does feel like giving up. You're sitting there and like things broke and more things are breaking or shattering or whatever. And it's just, life can really defeat you and bring you really, really low sometimes. But just keep fighting. Never give up and you'll be able to get through it. So I think that's very, very important. I do want to go through a bit of a schedule just so you have it, planned schedule here. That is, let's see, picture. Here you go. This is sort of my plan. I want to get an AM Meet Kevin report out, ideally by 6 a.m. every single morning. After that, I want to get the Alpha report out by 6:15. You can get that over at meetkevin.com. Sign up for it at least. I want to get the PM report out by 6 p.m. Every single day. So this should really say 1800, not 6. I'll change that. But anyway, the PM report by 6. So I can't say for sure what time, but probably between 4 and 6. and that's just sort of going to depend on the day and what I'm doing in the day. It's easier to confirm that I should be able to get this out by 6. I'll do the course member live stream either at 6:25 or 7:15, and that's dependent on whether or not we have a public market open live stream. That depends. If there's no public open live stream, we just do the course member live stream a little earlier, which you get lifetime access to over at meetkevin.com. And then, of course, I want to get the daily wealth out every single day, ideally a little bit earlier so it's not at the end of the day anymore. So I'll get it out by 8 is the goal. I'll also do single topic videos and I'll name those, but the Meet Kevin reports will have generic titles. It'll just sort of be something like Trump economy and Meet Kevin report and then the date. Something super simple like that. If you've got any good dad jokes, I need more dad jokes, so please send them over to staff@meetkevin.com. Greatly appreciate it. But let me give you the dad joke of the day today. All right, you ready for it? You want to know what I did with all of those old, used batteries we didn't need anymore? I gave them all away, free of charge.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.